NCIS, Season 23, Episode 16. Cast and Characters. Here's who brought the CBS police procedural to life. There's something almost alchemical about a long-running series like NCIS. After more than 2 decades on air, it's no longer just a show, it's a living, breathing world. By the time season 23, episode 16 arrives, the lines between character and actor blur in a way that feels deeply personal. This episode, packed with emotional undercurrents and high stakes tension, works not just because of its writing, but because of the cast who continue to breathe life into every glance, every pause, every word left unsaid. At the center of it all is Special Agent Alden Parker, portrayed with quiet intensity by Gary Cole. Parker has now firmly stepped into the leadership vacuum left behind by legends, yet he doesn't try to replace them. He redefines what leadership looks like. In episode 16, Parker feels more introspective than usual. Cole leans into this shift with subtle restraint, allowing silence to do as much work as dialogue. There's a moment midway through the episode where Parker watches his team from a distance, and in that stillness, you can almost feel the weight of every decision he's made. Sean Murray returns as Timothy McGee, the ever reliable backbone of the team. McGee has evolved so much over the years that it's easy to forget where he started. In this episode, Murray brings out a more conflicted side of McGee, a man torn between duty and something more personal simmering beneath the surface. His scenes carry a quiet emotional gravity, especially when he challenges Parker in a rare moment of disagreement. It's not loud or explosive, but it lingers. Wilmer Valderrama's Nick Torres continues to be one of the show's most layered characters. In episode 16, Torres is given material that digs into his instincts, the push and pull between his gut feelings and the rules he's sworn to follow. Valderrama plays this tension beautifully, letting flashes of vulnerability peek through Torres's usual bravado. There's a scene involving a suspect interrogation that showcases his range, shifting from charm to intensity in a matter of seconds. Katrina Law as Jessica Knight brings a grounded strength to the episode. Knight has always been sharp, observant, and emotionally intelligent, but here, Law gives her an added layer of quiet resilience. As the case grows more complicated, Knight becomes a stabilizing force within the team. She's not the loudest voice in the room, but she's often the one who sees what others miss. Law's performance feels effortless, which only makes it more compelling. Brian Deitzon's Dr. Jimmy Palmer continues to be the emotional heart of NCIS. In episode 16, Palmer isn't just delivering autopsy reports, he's offering perspective. Deitzon balances humor and sincerity in a way that feels organic, never forced. There's a moment in the morgue that could have easily been played for laughs, but instead, Deitzson turns it into something quietly profound. It's a reminder that Palmer isn't just comic relief, he's a vital part of the team's emotional ecosystem. Diona Reasonover as Casey Hines once again lights up the lab with her energy and intelligence. Casey's enthusiasm is infectious, but episode 16 gives Reasonover a chance to explore a more serious tone. As the evidence begins to reveal darker implications, Casey's reactions ground the science in human stakes. She's not just solving puzzles, she's feeling the weight of what those solutions mean. Reasonover's performance adds texture to scenes that could otherwise feel purely procedural. Rocky Carroll's Leon Vance remains a commanding presence, even in limited screen time. Vance doesn't need many words to assert authority, and Carroll knows exactly how to use that to his advantage. In this episode, Vance operates more from the shadows, pulling strings and making calls that ripple through the narrative. His interactions with Parker are particularly compelling, hinting at an unspoken understanding and perhaps a few unspoken concerns. The supporting cast in episode 16 also deserves recognition. Guest stars step into the NCIS world with confidence, adding depth to the case of the week. Whether it's a grieving family member, a suspicious colleague, or a seemingly minor character who turns out to be something more, each performance contributes to the episode's layered storytelling. These roles may be temporary, but they're essential in creating a fully realized narrative. What makes this ensemble truly special is how well they function as a unit. There's a rhythm to their interactions, a sense of familiarity that can't be manufactured. You believe these people have worked together for years, that they know each other's habits, strengths, and flaws. Episode 16 leans into that dynamic, allowing the team's chemistry to carry as much weight as the plot itself. There's also a noticeable balance in how the episode distributes its focus. No single character dominates the narrative. Instead, the story weaves between them, giving each actor a moment to shine. It's a testament to the show's confidence in its cast. After all these years, NCIS doesn't need to rely on one central figure. It thrives because of its ensemble. Visually, the episode complements the performances with a slightly more subdued tone. Lighting and camera work emphasize the characters' emotional states, often lingering just a second longer than expected. This gives the actors room to breathe, to let their expressions tell the story. It's a subtle shift, but it enhances the overall impact of the performances. By the time episode 16 reaches its conclusion, there's a sense that something has shifted, not dramatically, but enough to be felt. The case may be closed, but the characters carry its echoes with them, and that's where the cast truly shines. They don't just solve crimes, they absorb them, reflect on them, and change because of them. In a series as long running as NCIS, it would be easy for performances to become routine, but this episode proves that's far from the case. Each actor brings a level of commitment and nuance that keeps the show feeling fresh even in its 23rd season. They understand their characters not just as roles, but as people, complex, evolving, and deeply human. Episode 16 isn't just another chapter in NCIS history, it's a reminder of why the show continues to endure. And at the heart of that endurance is a cast that knows exactly how to bring its world to life, one scene at a time. NCIS Season 23, Episode 16, Cast and Characters Continued. The performances that elevate the story. If the first half of episode 16 reminds us why the NCIS team works, the second half shows us why it matters. As the investigation tightens and the emotional stakes rise, the cast leans further into the nuances of their characters, revealing layers that even longtime viewers might not have fully considered before. Gary Cole's Alden Parker, for instance, becomes increasingly introspective as the episode progresses. There's a quiet shift in his demeanor, less certainty, more contemplation. Cole doesn't overplay it. Instead, he lets Parker's internal conflict surface in subtle ways. A delayed response, a glance that lingers a second too long, a decision that feels heavier than it should. It's this restraint that makes Parker feel authentic. He's not trying to be the perfect leader, he's trying to be the right one. Sean Murray's Timothy McGee continues to wrestle with his own moral compass. In one of the episode's most compelling sequences, McGee finds himself at odds with the direction of the investigation. Murray plays the moment with controlled intensity, allowing frustration to simmer just beneath the surface. It's not anger, it's conviction, and that distinction makes all the difference. McGee isn't rebelling, he's standing his ground, and Murray ensures that the audience understands why. Wilmer Valderrama's Nick Torres takes on a more emotionally exposed role in the latter half of the episode. As pieces of the case begin to mirror elements of his own past, Torres is forced to confront memories he'd rather keep buried. Valderrama handles these scenes with a careful balance of toughness and vulnerability. There's a moment where Torres almost opens up, almost says what he's feeling, but stops himself. That hesitation speaks volumes, and it's a testament to Valderrama's control as an Abenita. Katrina Law's Jessica Knight becomes increasingly pivotal as the team edges closer to the truth. Knight's strength lies in her clarity, her ability to see through emotional noise and focus on what matters. Law plays this with a steady confidence that never feels forced. In a particularly tense exchange, Knight steps in to mediate between Parker and McGee, not by choosing sides, but by reframing the situation. It's a subtle leadership moment that suggests Knight's role within the team is still evolving in meaningful ways. Brian Dydzen's Jimmy Palmer once again proves why he's indispensable. In the second half of the episode, Palmer is given a scene that could easily have been overshadowed by the main investigation, but instead, it becomes one of the most memorable moments. Without giving too much away, it involves a conversation that shifts from professional to deeply personal. Dietson navigates this transition seamlessly, reminding viewers that Palmer's empathy is just as important as his expertise. Diana Reasonover's Casey Hines also gets a chance to shine as the scientific puzzle becomes more complex. What stands out here is how Reasonover conveys urgency without losing Casey's inherent warmth. Even when the pressure mounts, Casey remains someone you'd want in your corner. Her determination becomes a driving force in the investigation's final stretch, and Reasonover ensures that every breakthrough feels earned. Rocky Carroll's Leon Vance, though still operating largely behind the scenes, exerts a growing influence over the episode's outcome. As the situation escalates, Vance's decisions carry more weight and more risk. Carroll plays these moments with a controlled authority that never wavers. There's a sense that Vance is always thinking several steps ahead, even when the path forward isn't entirely clear. The guest characters introduced in episode 16 also come into sharper focus as the narrative unfolds. What initially seem like straightforward roles evolve into something more complex, thanks in large part to the performances behind them. Each guest actor brings a distinct energy to their character, ensuring that even the smallest roles feel significant. These aren't just plot devices, they're people with motivations, fears, and secrets. One of the most striking aspects of this episode is how well the cast handles the shifting tone. NCIS has always balanced procedural elements with character driven storytelling, but episode 16 leans more heavily into the latter. The actors respond accordingly, allowing their performances to carry the emotional weight of the story. It's less about what happens and more about how it affects the people involved. The chemistry between the cast members continues to be a defining strength. There's an ease to their interactions that can't be faked. Whether it's a quick exchange of dialogue or a moment of shared silence, the connections feel genuine. This authenticity is what allows the show to explore deeper emotional territory without losing its core identity. As the episode builds toward its climax, each character is given a moment that feels both personal and purposeful. These aren't grand, showy scenes, they're quiet, impactful beats that resonate long after they've passed. The cast understands that sometimes the most powerful moments are the ones that aren't emphasized, the ones that unfold naturally and linger in the background. By the time the credits roll, episode 16 leaves behind more than just a solved case. It leaves behind questions, reflections, and a sense of evolution. The characters aren't the same as they were at the beginning of the hour, and that's largely due to the performances that bring them to life. In the end, what makes this episode stand out isn't just the story it tells, but the way it's told. Through nuanced acting, strong ensemble chemistry, and a clear understanding of character, the cast transforms episode 16 into something more than a procedural installment. They turn it into a character study, one that reminds us why we keep coming back to NCIS season after season. NCIS Season 23, Episode 16, Cast and Characters, Final Part: Legacy, Growth, and the Faces Behind the Badge. As episode 16 draws to a close, what lingers isn't just the resolution of the case, it's the quiet evolution of the people who solved it. This is where the strength of the cast becomes undeniable. After years, even decades in some cases, these actors don't just play their characters, they understand them on an almost instinctive level. And in this final stretch, that understanding becomes the episode's most powerful asset. NCIS has always thrived on its ability to balance legacy with reinvention, and this episode is a perfect example of that delicate balance. The cast carries that responsibility with precision, honoring what came before while continuing to push their characters forward. Gary Cole's Alden Parker ends the episode in a place that feels subtly different from where he began. There's no dramatic transformation, no sweeping declaration, just a quiet shift in perspective. Cole leans into that subtlety, allowing Parker's growth to feel earned rather than imposed. It's the kind of performance that rewards vinimatelness, where even the smallest change in expression carries meaning. By the end, Parker feels less like a replacement and more like a cornerstone in his own right. Sean Murray gives Timothy McGee a closing arc that resonates deeply. McGee has always been the moral compass of the team, but episode 16 challenges that role in ways that feel both fresh and authentic. Murray captures the internal conflict with a steadiness that makes McGee's decisions feel grounded. There's a sense that he's not just reacting to the case, but learning from it. And that growth is what keeps the character compelling after so many seasons. For Wilmer Valderrama's Nick Torres, the episode serves as a reminder that strength and vulnerability aren't opposites, they coexist. Torres doesn't suddenly open up or resolve his inner struggles, but there's a noticeable softening around the edges. Valderrama plays this with restraint, avoiding any overt emotional payoff in favor of something more realistic. It's a slow burn, and that's exactly what makes it work. Katrina Law continues to shape Jessica Knight into one of the show's most quietly compelling figures. By the end of the episode, Knight feels like more than just a skilled agent. She feels like a leader in the making. Law doesn't push this idea too hard. Instead, she lets it emerge naturally through Knight's actions and decisions. It's a performance built on confidence, but never arrogant. Meanwhile, Brian Deitzen ensures that Jimmy Palmer remains the emotional anchor of the series. In the final moments, Palmer's presence serves as a reminder of the humanity at the core of NCIS. Deitzen has a unique ability to make even the simplest lines feel meaningful, and here he uses that skill to full effect. It's not about stealing the spotlight, it's about grounding the story. Diona Reasonover's Casey Hines closes out the episode with a sense of quiet determination. Her journey in this episode may be rooted in science, but it's driven by empathy. Reasonover ensures that Casey never feels detached from the human side of the investigation. Instead, she becomes a bridge between logic and emotion, adding depth to every scene she's in. Rocky Carroll's Leon Vance, though often operating in the background, leaves a lasting impression. In the final scenes, Vance embodies the weight of leadership, the understanding that every decision has consequences, even when it's the right one. Carroll's performance is understated but powerful, reinforcing Vance's role as the steady hand guiding the larger picture. Beyond the main cast, episode 16's guest characters complete the narrative puzzle. These performances, though brief, are essential. They provide the emotional context that allows the main cast to shine, creating a world that feels expansive and lived in. Each interaction, no matter how small, contributes to the episode's overall impact. What truly sets this episode apart is how it uses its cast not just to tell a story, but to reflect one. The characters aren't static, they absorb the events around them, carry those experiences forward, and change in subtle but meaningful ways. This is where the longevity of NCIS becomes its greatest strength. The audience isn't just watching a case unfold, they're watching people grow. There's also a sense of trust that permeates the performances. The actors trust the material, trust each other, and trust the audience to pick up on the nuances. That trust allows for quieter moments, for scenes that don't rely on dramatic flair, but instead draw power from authenticity. It's a confidence that only comes with time, and it shows. As the episode fades out, there's no need for grand conclusions. The story has been told, the case has been solved, but the characters continue on. That's the essence of NCIS. It's not about endings, it's about continuity. And the cast ensures that continuity feels alive, evolving with each new chapter. In the end, episode 16 stands as a testament to the enduring strength of its ensemble. Through layered performances, subtle character development, and an unwavering commitment to authenticity, the cast once again proves why NCIS remains a cornerstone of television storytelling. They don't just bring the procedural to life, they give it heart, depth, and a sense of permanence that keeps audiences coming back episode after episode.